Staring in the mirror, I look into those eyes, but all I seem to see is a lie in disguise. Hello, I'm Rohan Poduri, and this is the story of how I found my identity in the ripples of uncertainty, persistence, and passion. From the age of 11, my parents have had very busy schedules. My mom worked US hours from here, and my dad's job was in a different city. Staying alone at this age wasn't easy, especially when I'd hear from all the other kids about all the things they got to do with their families and friends. I never had many of these experiences, apart from the occasional vacation, the annual vacation, or the occasional movie every other weekend. I felt as if I couldn't maintain relationships or contacts the way that I wanted to. I felt alone, even in a group of people that cared about me. Am I a misfit? I'd ask myself repeatedly. Naturally, my response was to try to fit in with the various cliques at my school. The North Indian kids, the smart kids, the Telugu kids. I got along with all of them equally well. But to me, it seemed as if I couldn't be myself anymore, as if there wasn't anything about me that was truly unique that stood out in any of those cliques. An instance that concretized my opinion on this was in the 8th grade. A teacher, one I was quite close to, had asked me why I was trying so hard to please everyone. It made me feel as if I was making everything that I was so insecure about very, very aberrant to a bystander, causing the realization, how can I be myself when I see a stranger in the mirror? This was a revelation that changed my way of thinking. To me, it meant that I could show so little of myself because I'd put myself in situations where I'd voluntarily sacrifice this ability to express myself the way that I intended to. But I knew I was different, and I knew I was unique. With this reflection of myself that I saw in this distorted pool of emotion and change, it became just a little bit more lucid. This concept of ripples has put me in several negative situations. But I know that it is these experiences that have made this image of myself that I see today clearer just one bit at a time. One such situation I'd found myself in was in the 9th grade. I'd become so insistent on fitting in that certain aspects of my life had become unacceptable to me. I'd gained this unnatural tendency to lie, whether that was about the way I was feeling, the people I had around me, or the problems I was facing. I'd started to use this pretentious persona that masked my opinions and my interests with this barrier of being socially acceptable. I'd started to give up on opportunities because I thought maybe they weren't worth the effort, or maybe my friends wouldn't want to partake in them. But all of them had their own individual identities, something that each of them cared about, something that each of them loved. Stranger in the mirror, where are all your friends? Please don't take for granted what you could lose again. I knew it was time I found something that I could call my own, a means of self-expression that I could rely on. One that would help me eliminate that dissatisfaction by helping me fit in, but maybe this time in my own unique way. With this thought, I had embarked on my journey towards self-discovery. This melodious harmony of my life thus far had started to take shape. I've always had a very sensitive hearing. To drown out the noise of the blaring horns, the kids yelling in my neighborhood, or my parents arguing downstairs, I'd hum melodies that came up in my head one after another. Music had become an emotional outlet for me. No matter what I was facing, I found peace in that harmony of sound that seemed to represent just close to what I was feeling. I developed this special relationship with music that supported me whenever I needed it, as a companion that would never leave my side. In the summer before my 9th grade, I saw my cousin using a music production software. I was immediately fascinated by the simplicity of it. It gave him the ability to create and the ability to express. So I got it for my birthday that year. This newfound ability to create made me feel as if I could express exactly what I was feeling, as if I could translate those notes I was humming into actual sound that I could listen to. Throughout my experiences with music, I have learned a lot. Music is not just made. There's a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a convergence of several components that goes into it. I'd realized that any task that came my way could be made so much easier by breaking it down into these smaller pieces. I'd realized that by improvising on each of these components, I could achieve that symphony that I so deeply loved. And I could apply this creative process that I developed through my experiences with music to anything. Throughout these experiences, what has stuck with me is this concept of convergence, reminding me that I am my own person, unique and independent of the influences of other people. I've been able to create something to be remembered by, whether that be academically at the top of my class or through sport or through music. However, there is another thing that I have realized. Music to me is a tool, one that helps me navigate through the joys and the difficulties of my everyday life. But music cannot always be there for me. It will not always be able to offer that support that I so desperately need from it. Life will throw events my way that will put me in situations that I will have to traverse alone. Moments of grief, moments of joy, moments of sadness, moments of happiness, just moments that will overwhelm me emotionally. Even in the short span of my life so far, I have encountered one such moment. Nearly 3 years ago, with the passing of my grandfather. It was the first time that I'd lost somebody. It reminded me that the bonds we form, they don't last forever. But I knew that this was an experience that I could not let bring me down. I had to familiarize myself with this concept of pain and this feeling of loss. I had to learn to accept and I had to learn to grieve, but most importantly, I had to learn to persist, no matter what the circumstances are around me. Persistence is an important attribute to any person. The ability to not give up, to have that grit that allows you to push through and emerge no matter what life throws your way. And there are a million sources that inspire you to persist, whether that be an earthworm that'll keep going even if you quite literally cut it in half, or the cats in my neighborhood that'll come back just to sleep on our doormat, no matter how much fencing we put up to keep them out, or the many characters of Arnold Schwarzenegger, like the Terminator that'll get up no matter how many times he is knocked down. Not the one that'll get in the chopper and leave in the face of adversity. So if all of them can face their difficulties, surely there isn't an obstacle large enough for me that I cannot overcome. So in conclusion, I think it's important that we all embrace our uniquenesses. We all have our unique interests, we all have our unique passions, but that is what brings us closer together. That is what helps us converge. And so, I've found my identity in music. It helps me feel more connected to myself. It has helped me realize who I am. And so I'd like to say to the stranger in the mirror, now we've come so far, I know it took a while, but now I know who you are. Thank you.